What if the thing you fear most has always been closer than you think? What if it's been watching, waiting for the right moment to strike? I'm Cairo Maddox, and tonight I'll take you into the darkness where your deepest nightmares come alive. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. Let me know what kind of stories you'd like to hear next. David was a student at an engineering university where an old block had been sealed off for years. It was rumored among students that anyone who entered never returned, but David didn't believe in such stories. He wanted to find out the truth. One day, his friends, Mark and Jake, teased him. "If you're so brave, go there at night and prove it." David laughed and said, "All right, let's see if there's really something there or just drama." That night, he sneaked into the old block with his camera and phone. The building was eerily silent, as if it had been dead for centuries. Dust covered the floor, and old tattered posters hung from the walls. As he walked deeper inside, he reached the basement, where a rusted elevator stood. On its door, bold letters read, "Warning: if you value your life, do not use this elevator." David smirked. "These are just stories. Nothing will happen." He pulled the door open and stepped inside. The air inside was unnaturally cold. He pressed a button, but instead of going up, the elevator started plunging downward, deeper and deeper, as if descending into another world. After what felt like an eternity, the elevator stopped. When the doors slid open, he wasn't in the basement anymore. Everything around him was old, rusted, and decayed. The dim lighting flickered, and bloodstains covered the walls and floor. "What is this place?" David murmured. The walls had deep scratch marks, as if someone had desperately tried to claw their way out. Suddenly, he felt a presence behind him. He turned his camera toward it. Nothing was there. "Maybe it's just my imagination," he reassured himself. But as he moved toward the elevator, he heard a whisper, soft, eerie. "You shouldn't have come here." The whisper was clear. David turned around and saw a shadow moving toward him. Panicked, he ran to the elevator, but its doors were shut. "Open up. Let me out." He pounded on the doors. The shadow rushed forward and grabbed his arm. Its touch was ice cold. "Now you'll stay where the others did," David screamed, but his voice only echoed back. Just then, the elevator doors creaked open. Mustering all his strength, he freed himself from the shadow's grip and leaped inside. The doors slammed shut, and the darkness outside disappeared as if it had never been there. The next morning, security guards found David unconscious outside the old block. When he woke up, his friends asked, "What happened?" David told them everything, but when he checked his phone, all recordings were gone. "This is impossible. I recorded everything." Then he noticed deep scratch marks on his arm, like someone had tried to drag him back. 2 days later, curiosity got the better of Mark and Jake. They went to the old block, and on the elevator door, a new message had appeared. "Next, it's your turn." David had returned, but he was no longer the same. He suffered from terrifying nightmares, visions of the shadow calling him back. Many nights he woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. "It must be my mind playing tricks. Maybe I just imagined too much," he tried to convince himself. But deep inside, he knew he had never truly escaped. Mark and Jake noticed his strange behavior. They were sure David was hiding something. "We need to check it out ourselves," Mark insisted. But David said it's dangerous. Jake hesitated. "If there's really something there, we have to know the truth." Finally, they decided to go at night. At midnight, they sneaked into the old block. The silence was heavier than before. Suddenly, the elevator doors opened, on their own. How is this possible? Jake whispered. Maybe it's a technical issue. Let's go inside, Mark said. Summoning their courage, they stepped in and pressed a button. The elevator shuddered, then dropped rapidly, as if falling into the abyss. When it stopped, they found themselves in a dark, endless corridor. The walls were smeared with fresh blood. Then, a shadow appeared. It grew larger and took form. It was David, but his eyes were missing. Now, you belong here too. Back in his room, David was trembling. Suddenly, a whisper echoed in his ears. You shouldn't have gone there. But now you're not alone. Your friends have joined you. His face turned pale. He grabbed his phone with shaking hands and called Jake. No answer. No, this is my fault, David murmured. Just then, black mist started seeping through the crack beneath his door. Now it's your turn, David. David's eyes widened in horror. He pressed himself against the corner of his room as the mist crept closer. His phone screen suddenly lit up. A video started playing, his missing recording. In it, Mark and Jake were in the elevator. A shadow loomed behind them, closing in. Suddenly, the video stopped. On the screen, a message appeared. You opened the door. Now, you can't close it. The next morning, Mark and Jake were missing. There was no trace of them, as if they had never existed. The university searched everywhere, but found nothing. David knew where they were, but he could do nothing. They're there where I was, but they'll never come back. That night, a new video appeared on David's phone, without a sender, as if it had been sent from the void. He hesitantly played it. Mark and Jake stood there. Their eyes were hollow. Their faces bore eerie smiles. We're back, David. Now it's your turn. At 3 a.m., there was a slow knock on his door. David hid under his blanket, holding his breath. Look at us, David. We've returned. The knocking moved from the door to his window. We've come to take you back. Terrified, David gathered his courage and peeked outside. His heart nearly stopped. Mark and Jake stood outside, but their eyes were nothing but black voids, their smiles unnatural. Come with us, back to where it all began. The final disappearance. The next day, the university heard shocking news. David had vanished too. The administration permanently sealed the old block, but at night, security guards swore they saw the rusted elevator doors opening and closing on their own. And sometimes, if you listen closely, you can hear a whisper from within. We have returned, and now it's your turn. A new beginning. 6 months later, 2 new students, Liam and Adam, joined the university. To them, the story of David, Mark, and Jake was just an urban legend. If they disappeared, why weren't their bodies found? Adam questioned. Exactly. People just make up scary stories. Liam laughed. Let's go check it out one night. And that was the mistake everyone makes. At midnight, Liam and Adam snuck into the old block. Everything was quiet. Dust, abandoned walls, nothing unusual. See? Nothing's here, Liam laughed. But as they neared the elevator, the doors opened by themselves. Inside, darkness awaited. How did that open? Adam's voice trembled. Maybe the wind. Let's check it out, Liam said. As they stepped inside, the doors slammed shut. The elevator shook violently, then plunged downward fast and unstoppable. Where is this taking us? Adam screamed. The elevator stopped. The doors slid open. They found themselves in a long, dark corridor. Bloodstains marked the walls. Then, they heard it. A whisper, "You're late." They turned around. 3 figures stood before them. David, Mark, Jake. But their eyes were nothing but black voids. Their smiles, unnatural. "Now, it's your turn." The next morning, Liam and Adam never arrived at class. They had vanished, just like the others. And on the elevator door, fresh blood spelled out, "Once you enter, you never leave. Next, it's your turn." Michael and Sarah decided to spend their vacation far from the city's noise in their grandparents' quiet village. But peace wasn't all the village held. There was an old, crumbling house nearby. Everyone called it the Silent House. The villagers avoided it after dark, whispering stories they barely dared to believe. On the first day, Michael and Sarah only felt a mild unease, just the creaks of an old home, perhaps. But as night fell, the air shifted. Strange, whispering sounds echoed through the halls, unintelligible words that made their hearts race. At midnight, Michael suddenly felt something brush past him. He stepped out of his room. Silence, stillness. Then, a shadowy figure of a girl flashed by, vanishing before he could see her face. The next morning, Sarah confessed something chilling. "I keep dreaming of a girl, watching me. She never says a word, but she's always there." The days grew darker. Doors slammed on their own. Symbols, creepy, ancient, appeared on the walls. And at night, laughter, faint, echoing, and cold. They turned to an old neighbor, Mr. Collins. He looked at the house, then said quietly, "This house, it once belonged to Emma. She vanished one day. Some say she never really left." Michael and Sarah began to investigate. Old letters, newspaper clippings, villagers' whispers, stories tangled in lies and missing pieces. And then came the final night. The house erupted in a storm of horror, walls stained with fresh blood, candles snuffed out by a freezing wind. And then Emma appeared. Her shadow stepped forward, and for the first time, she spoke. "What happened to me is a secret the village tried to bury. They wanted me silent, but I won't stay quiet." Emma told them the truth. She was never murdered. She was buried alive, because she had uncovered a dark secret, a crime committed by powerful people in the village. Michael and Sarah brought her story to light. And just like that, Emma's shadow faded, peace returned. But the house was never cursed. It was haunted by truth. Emma never wanted revenge. She only wanted someone to listen, someone to set the truth free. Because sometimes, what we fear the most is simply a truth no one was brave enough to tell. In the heart of a dying forest, there lies a village no map remembers. Ashwood Hollow. Each night as the sun fades, a melody rises from the trees, soft, mournful, unfinished. They say it belonged to Evelyn Rose, a blind girl with a gift cursed by sorrow. She played the violin like it wept for the dead. Then one day, she vanished. No trace, no goodbye. Only the music remained, and it never stopped. Thomas Blake was no stranger to darkness, a journalist chasing forgotten tragedies. He came to Ashwood, seeking answers, but the forest had other plans. That night he heard it, the tune, calling, pulling. He followed it, into the woods, to a house that shouldn't be there. Inside, a broken violin. A chair turned toward the cold, and then A whisper of movement. Invisible hands. Playing silence. A note appeared on the floor. Play the last tune, or stay forever. He met old Mr. Cray the next morning, the last soul who remembered Evelyn. She never finished her melody, he said. She knew, if she did, she'd be taken. But the forest remembers. And now, it was waiting again. That night, Thomas returned. He played. One note, then another, the melody rose and fell into silence. Then the wind screamed, the shadows swallowed, and Thomas was gone. Ash, dust, memory, but the music still plays. Not Evelyn's now, Thomas's. So if you ever hear a violin crying through the trees, don't follow it, don't listen, and above all, never complete the tune.